I married the man of my dreams, a fiery love that had us both riding high on passion. Our wedding day felt like something out of a fairy tale, the kind you read about in books or see in movies. Perfect, or so I thought. But life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect it, and that's precisely what happened to me. Somewhere along the way, I started to feel something I hadn't anticipated, a secret crush on someone other than my husband. Now, don't get me wrong, my husband was amazing. He was everything I had ever wanted in a partner, loving, caring, and fiercely devoted. But there was this magnetic pull towards someone else, someone who ignited a different kind of fire within me. For a while, I brushed these feelings aside, thinking they were just a passing phase. After all, how could I possibly entertain the idea of being attracted to someone else when I had a loving and devoted husband by my side? But the more I tried to deny it, the stronger those feelings grew. I found myself stealing glances, stolen moments, and stolen thoughts. And with each stolen moment, my guilt deepened. The secrecy of it all weighed on me, a heavy burden that I couldn't seem to shake off. I longed to share my inner turmoil with my husband, the one person I should be able to confide in. But the fear of hurting him, of shattering the perfection we had built together, held me back. I felt trapped in my own emotions, torn between my loyalty to my husband and the inexplicable pull of this newfound attraction. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the tension inside me grew unbearable. I knew I had to make a choice, to either bury these feelings or confront them head-on. Little did I know that the decision I was about to make would set in motion a chain of events that would forever change the course of our marriage. So, there I was, standing in front of my husband, the words heavy on my tongue. It was a moment I had been dreading for what felt like an eternity, but I knew it was time to come clean. I took a deep breath, summoning every ounce of courage I had left, and finally, I blurted it out. "I think I might be polyamorous," I said, the words hanging in the air like an impending storm. His reaction was not what I had expected. His eyes widened, his jaw dropped, and a heavy, awkward silence settled in the room. It was as if I had just dropped a bombshell, and the shockwaves were still reverberating. After what felt like an eternity, he finally found his voice. "Polyamorous? What does that even mean?" he asked, his tone a mixture of confusion and disbelief. I tried my best to explain, stumbling over my words as I attempted to convey the complex concept of polyamory. I told him about the idea of loving multiple people simultaneously, about the need for emotional connections outside of our marriage. But no matter how I explained it, I could see that he was struggling to grasp the concept. As the minutes turned into hours, we delved into a deep and intense conversation about our relationship, its boundaries, and what this revelation meant for us. It was a roller coaster of emotions: confusion, anger, sadness, and even a hint of curiosity. My husband's shock gradually gave way to a mixture of anger and hurt. He felt betrayed, as if I had kept this secret from him for far too long. The silence was no longer awkward, it was suffocating, as if our once solid foundation had been shaken to its core. We went back and forth, our voices rising and falling in a heated exchange of words. It was a painful and emotional confrontation, one that left us both raw and vulnerable. In the end, my husband had more questions than answers, and I had more doubts than certainties. The only thing that was clear was that our relationship had entered uncharted territory, and neither of us knew where this new path would lead. As we lay in bed that night, the weight of my confession hung heavy in the air between us. The road ahead was uncertain, and the journey we were about to embark on would test the limits of our love and our commitment to each other. Little did we know just how much our lives were about to change. So, there we were, my husband and me, in the midst of a conversation that would reshape our lives forever. I had just dropped the bombshell that I believed I was polyamorous, and the room felt charged with uncertainty. He looked at me, his eyes a whirlwind of emotions, curiosity, confusion, and a hint of worry dancing in their depths. It was clear he had a million questions swirling in his mind, and he wasted no time in firing away. "What does that even mean?" he asked, his voice tinged with both curiosity and trepidation. I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. "Well," I began, "it means that I believe in the possibility of loving more than one person at a time, while still maintaining our marriage." His eyebrows furrowed as he absorbed this information. "So, you want to be with someone else?" he asked, the vulnerability in his voice tearing at my heart. I rushed to reassure him. No, it's not about wanting someone else more. It's about the capacity to love and connect with multiple people emotionally." He seemed to be processing this new reality. But does that mean you don't love me as much? He questioned, his insecurity palpable. I held his hand, looking into his eyes with all the sincerity I could muster. No, babe, it doesn't change how I feel about you. My love for you is unwavering. This is just about exploring the depths of my heart and emotions in different ways. He sighed, his worry slowly dissipating. I just don't want to lose you, he admitted, his voice soft. Tears welled up in my eyes as I leaned in to kiss him gently. You won't lose me, I promise. We'll navigate this together, and I'll do everything in my power to make sure our love stays strong. As the night wore on, our conversation delved into the intricacies of polyamory. We talked about boundaries, trust, and the importance of open communication. My husband, despite his initial shock, was willing to listen and learn. He asked questions about jealousy, time management, and how we would navigate this new terrain. I was grateful for his willingness to engage in this dialogue, even though the journey ahead was uncertain. It wasn't an easy conversation, but it was a necessary one. We both knew that if we were going to make this work, we had to be honest with each other and ourselves. In the end, our love was stronger than any doubts or fears. We may have been entering uncharted territory, but we were doing it hand in hand, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As we fell asleep that night, I couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could find a way to make this unconventional love story work. After countless discussions and heated debates, my husband and I made a life-altering decision. We decided to give polyamory a chance. It wasn't an easy choice, and it didn't come without its own set of challenges, but it felt like the right path for us. With the decision made, the next step was setting clear boundaries and rules for our newfound open relationship. We sat down together, armed with a notepad and pen, and began drafting our own set of guidelines. One thing was clear from the start: transparency was key. We agreed to be open and honest about our feelings, desires, and interactions with other people. No secrets, no hidden agendas. Communication was our lifeline. We also set strict boundaries about who we could date and how we would manage our time. We agreed to prioritize our marriage above all else, and any new relationship would have to understand and respect that. As we hashed out the details, I couldn't help but admire my husband's patience and willingness to navigate this uncharted territory with me. He showed a level of understanding and love that I had never fully appreciated before. And so, our journey into polyamory began. I started seeing someone new, all while remaining married to the man I had built my life with. It was a delicate balancing act, and there were moments when jealousy reared its ugly head, but we kept reminding ourselves of the commitment we had made to one another. My husband's patience and unwavering support made the transition smoother than I had expected. He never hesitated to lend an ear when I needed to talk about my new relationship, and he offered comfort and reassurance when my doubts crept in. Our marriage became a safe haven, a place where we could openly discuss our experiences, emotions, and fears. It was a challenging journey, filled with ups and downs, but it also brought us closer together in a way we had never imagined. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, our love endured the test of time and change. Polyamory wasn't just about exploring new relationships, it was about discovering new facets of ourselves and our bond. In the midst of this unconventional love story, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for the man who had stood by my side through it all. My husband's patience and love had transformed our relationship into something even more beautiful and resilient. Little did we know that the path ahead held even more surprises and challenges. But armed with love, trust, and an unwavering commitment to each other, we were ready to face whatever the future had in store for us. Intense feelings swirled around me like a tempest. I was deep in the throes of a passionate affair with my newfound love, and it was a roller coaster of emotions I never expected to experience. With each stolen moment, each shared laugh, and each tender touch, my connection with my new partner grew stronger. It was a kind of love that was different from what I had with my husband, yet equally compelling in its own way. But as my heart soared with this newfound love, I couldn't ignore the signs of turbulence back at home. My husband, the man I had shared my life with for years, began to show signs of jealousy that were impossible to ignore. It was a tough pill to swallow. I could see the hurt in his eyes, and it pained me to know that my pursuit of happiness was causing him so much distress. I felt caught in the middle of an emotional whirlwind, torn between two people I loved deeply. I tried my best to reassure my husband, to remind him of the boundaries we had set and the love that still burned brightly between us. I held him close, whispered sweet promises in his ear, and did my best to alleviate his fears. But jealousy is a powerful emotion, and it has a way of distorting even the clearest of intentions. My husband's insecurities grew, and he couldn't help but compare himself to my new love. He wondered if he was still enough for me, if our love was still as strong as it once was. I found myself walking a tightrope, trying to balance the desires of my heart with the needs of my husband. It was a complex dance of emotions, and I often felt like I was teetering on the edge. As the weeks turned into months, our relationship dynamic continued to shift. My husband's jealousy persisted, and I struggled to find the right words and actions to ease his fears. But one thing was clear: our love was being put to the test. It was a test of trust, of patience, and of our commitment to each other. And in the midst of this turmoil, I couldn't help but wonder if I had made the right choices, if my pursuit of love was worth the pain it was causing. The journey of polyamory was pushing the boundaries of our relationship in ways we could have never imagined. It was a challenging path, filled with moments of doubt and uncertainty. Yet, it was also a journey that was reshaping our love, teaching us the true meaning of trust, and challenging us to confront the complexities of our hearts. As we continued to navigate this uncharted territory, one thing became clear: the love we shared, no matter how unconventional, was worth every moment of heartache and every difficult conversation. And with that thought in mind, we pressed on, determined to find our own path to happiness, no matter where it might lead us. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, our world seemed to crumble around us. My husband's anger erupted like a volcanic eruption, and our peaceful home became the epicenter of a raging storm. We had been navigating the complexities of polyamory for some time now, but it was clear that the strain on our relationship had reached its breaking point. The tension had been simmering beneath the surface, and that night, it finally boiled over. My husband's voice thundered through the house as he unleashed his frustrations. He declared that he could no longer bear the weight of the polyamorous journey we had embarked on. His words were like daggers, piercing through my heart. In his eyes, I could see a mixture of pain, anger, and betrayal. He felt that our love had been stretched to its limits, that our marriage was hanging by a thread, and that the very foundation of our relationship had been shattered. As the argument raged on, I could feel tears welling up in my eyes. The love I had for my husband was as deep and profound as ever, but the complexities of polyamory had taken a toll on our once peaceful union. In the heat of the moment, my husband made a decision that left me stunned and devastated. He declared that he could no longer stay in a marriage that was causing him so much pain. He wanted a divorce. My heart felt like it had been ripped from my chest. The thought of losing the man I had built my life with was unbearable. We had weathered so many storms together, overcome countless obstacles, and shared a love that I had believed was unbreakable. But here we were, at a crossroads, faced with a decision that would forever alter the course of our lives. The love that had once bound us together now threatened to tear us apart. As my husband packed his bags and prepared to leave, a heavy silence settled in our home. The weight of his decision hung in the air like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over everything we had once shared. I watched him walk out the door, and my heart ached with a pain I had never known. Our love story, which had once been filled with passion and promise, had taken an unexpected turn, leading us to a place neither of us had ever imagined. As I sat alone in the silence of our home, I couldn't help but wonder if I had made the right choices, if my pursuit of love had come at too high a cost. The road ahead was uncertain, and the pain of my husband's departure was a bitter reminder of the choices we had made and the sacrifices we had endured. Little did I know that the path ahead held even more surprises and challenges, and that the journey of self-discovery and love was far from over. The departure of my husband felt like a gaping hole in my heart. I was devastated, desperate to hold onto the love we had shared for so many years. But deep down, I knew that something had gone terribly wrong, and I needed to figure out what had led us to this point. I spent countless sleepless nights trying to make sense of it all. I replayed every argument, every heated exchange, searching for clues to what had gone wrong. It was a painful process, but I knew I had to confront the harsh truths of our relationship. One day, in the midst of my turmoil, I received a call from my new love. He had been a source of strength and support throughout this tumultuous journey, and he wanted to check in on me. As we spoke, I couldn't help but pour out my heart to him. I told him about the guilt, the confusion, and the overwhelming sadness that had consumed me since my husband's departure. His voice was a lifeline in my stormy sea of emotions, and he listened with a compassion that touched my soul. But it was during that conversation that a profound realization hit me like a lightning bolt. I had been so focused on trying to make my polyamorous relationship work that I had lost sight of my own needs and desires. I had been so eager to explore new connections that I had neglected the most important relationship in my life, the one with myself. I had convinced myself that polyamory was the path to my happiness, but in the process, I had failed to be honest with myself about what I truly needed. I had been searching for fulfillment in external relationships, hoping they would fill the void within me, when in reality, it was my own self-discovery and self-acceptance that I had been neglecting. In the days that followed, I embarked on a journey of self-reflection. I began to delve into the depths of my own desires, my fears, and my insecurities. It was a difficult and sometimes painful process, but it was also incredibly liberating. I realized that I had to learn to love and accept myself fully before I could truly love and accept others. I had to confront my own demons, my own vulnerabilities, and my own inner truths. As I navigated this journey inward, my new love continued to stand by my side, offering his unwavering support. He understood that my pursuit of self-discovery was essential, not just for me but for the future of any meaningful relationships I might have. The days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, and I gradually began to emerge from the depths of my self-exploration with a newfound sense of clarity and purpose. I knew that I had a long way to go, but I was finally on the path to understanding my own needs and desires. Little did I know that this journey of self-discovery would ultimately lead me to a revelation that would challenge everything I thought I knew about love, relationships, and the true meaning of happiness. As I delved deeper into my journey of self-discovery, I couldn't escape the haunting truth that had been staring me in the face all along. Polyamory wasn't what I truly needed. It was a tough pill to swallow, a bitter realization that I had been chasing after something that had ultimately cost me the love of my life. I had spent countless hours reflecting on the choices I had made, the relationships I had pursued, and the impact they had on my marriage. It became clear that my pursuit of polyamory had been driven by a desire for novelty, for the thrill of new connections, and for the validation it provided. But in the process, I had lost sight of what truly mattered. I had lost the man I had built my life with, the man who had stood by my side through thick and thin, and the man who had loved me unconditionally. My husband had moved on, meeting someone new who could offer him the kind of love and commitment that he had always sought. It was a painful realization, watching him find happiness with someone else while I grappled with the consequences of my own choices. I couldn't help but feel a profound sense of regret. I had let my selfish desires blind me to the love and devotion that had been right in front of me. I had taken my husband for granted, believing that our love was unbreakable, only to watch it crumble before my eyes. The weight of my mistakes hung heavy on my shoulders. I had caused so much pain and heartache, not just for myself, but for the man I had vowed to spend my life with. It was a bitter pill to swallow, a stark reminder that our choices have consequences, and that sometimes, those consequences can be irreversible. As I reflected on the path that had led me to this point, I couldn't help but wonder if I could ever find a way to make amends, to rebuild the shattered pieces of my life. The road ahead was uncertain, and the pain of losing the love of my life was a burden I would carry with me forever. But one thing was clear: I had learned a valuable lesson about the true nature of love and the importance of self-reflection. I had come to understand that love wasn't just about chasing after fleeting desires, but about nurturing the connections that truly mattered. In the end, I had lost the love of my life to my own selfish desires, but I had also gained a deeper understanding of what it meant to truly love and cherish the people who mattered most. It was a bittersweet realization, one that would stay with me for the rest of my days. If you're enjoying the content and looking for more, we've got a simple request. Give us a thumbs up by clicking that like button and hit subscribe to stay tuned for all the exciting updates coming your way. Why, you ask? Well, we're here to share knowledge, provide entertainment, and engage in meaningful conversations with you. By hitting that like button, you're letting us know you appreciate what we do. And subscribing? That's your golden ticket to never missing out on the latest, greatest, and most informative content. So, what are you waiting for? Click that like button, hit subscribe, and join our fantastic community. Together, we'll explore, learn, and have a blast doing it. Thanks for your support. I tried. Oh, how I tried to find happiness in other relationships. I chased after the thrill of new connections, seeking solace in the arms of others, but nothing could replace what I had lost. The love I had with my husband was a rare and precious gem, and I had let it slip through my fingers. Regret weighed on me like an anchor, dragging me down into a sea of sorrow. I couldn't shake the feeling of having made the biggest mistake of my life, of letting go of the one person who had truly known and cherished me. Each day seemed to stretch on endlessly, a painful reminder of what I had lost. I longed for the warmth of his embrace, the sound of his laughter, and the way his presence had always made me feel like I was home. My attempts at polyamory had ended in a sea of regrets and loneliness. I had pursued desires that were fleeting and shallow, only to realize that the love I had always had was the most precious of all. I couldn't help but wonder if there was a way to turn back time, to undo the mistakes I had made. But life doesn't offer do-overs, and I was left to grapple with the consequences of my choices. As I navigated the solitude of my regrets, I couldn't help but reflect on the lessons I had learned along the way. I had discovered that love isn't about quantity, it's about quality. It's about nurturing the connections that truly matter, cherishing the love that's right in front of you, and being honest with yourself about what you truly